Hey guys, it's Sithlor. Wanted to take a look at the Dashing Strike skill, which is one of the skills that received a pretty big buff in 1.07. So the skill allows you to dash, or what I like to call teleport, a short distance, and after doing so, you strike an enemy, dealing 303% weapon damage, which is up from 100% weapon damage in the previous patch. So the 303% weapon damage is fairly significant, and it does a good amount of damage. The thing about this skill is the weapon damage itself, although decent, isn't huge. It is a single target skill, and it is fairly effective, like I said. But this is one of those skills that it's great for getting to a target. But let me just show you what I mean. It's not very good as far as a defensive skill, which I think would really allow this skill to shine. So you can target just a single enemy, and it will do a good deal of damage to that enemy. It's good for getting around from pack to pack, and also really good for, like I said, for targeting certain enemies. This is a really good skill when dealing with Desecrator packs, because as soon as you're standing in Desecrator, you can teleport to another enemy and then move around. The other thing this is really good for is dealing with killer bees, as you can, as soon as the bees are starting to get near you, then you just use Dashing Strike, and you can select the enemy that you're going for. So overall, a decent single target skill, not one that I'm a big fan of, but for the spirit cost, considering it is only 25 spirit, it's very good bang for your buck. So I'd be curious to see who actually utilizes this, because if you're using it as your secondary attack, you'll get quite a bit of damage for the amount of spirit that you can spend on it. Again, I would consider more of a secondary attack rather than utilizing it for the Dashing Strike purpose. The Dashing Strike is helpful, but not going to be something that is significant enough for you to utilize significantly. It's essentially a secondary attack that has a couple of bonus attributes associated with it. Realistically, the Dashing Strike seems to me to be more of a rune choice, where the 303% weapon damage is primarily what you're using the skill for. So let us just take out this, and I'm not going to be I'm not going to be able to make it to town. So let me take out this guy, take out the killer bee. The other aspect of the skill, which you saw really briefly right there, is it does root enemies for about 1 second, which immobilizes them just for a sec. It's not a complete stun, but it does stun them a little bit. So it is relatively beneficial for that. So Way of the Falling Star is the first one. This is a great rune, essentially for Paragon farming, because what it does is it increases your movement speed by 25% for 3 seconds. It doesn't provide a whole lot of benefit for battle, but it does allow you to move quickly afterwards, after using the skill. So the first thing that you'd use it for, like I said, for Paragon farming, is just going from elite to elite, or if you're able to one-shot enemies because you have a very, very powerful monk, and you are able to one-shot things. Otherwise, not a whole lot of benefit, because although it increases your movement speed, it's not increasing your attack speed. So again, there's not a whole lot that it's doing for you that you wouldn't be getting just from the base skill. So once we take out these guys, this is where a secondary AoE skill would be much more beneficial than the current single target skill that we're utilizing. So let's switch things up, take a look at the next rune choice. So the next rune choice is Flying Sidekick. This is a good skill. It's excellent for bosses, because what it does is has a 60% chance that you're going to stun the enemy for 1.5 seconds. Because of the fact that the spirit cost is so low with this skill, it will trigger fairly often, and you can use the skill fairly often. And so although stuns do have a diminishing returns associated with it, you can see that you can use it fairly often, they get stunned fairly often, and you can just take them out. So again, this is much more beneficial when dealing with single targets and strong single targets, but a very, very effective rune choice. The next one is Quicksilver. Simply reduces the cost to 10 spirit. In my opinion, the 25 spirit already has a low enough cost that unless you were planning on replacing your primary skill with Dashing Strike, then this is pointless. Because as you can see, I was using Dashing Strike still fairly often. I wasn't using it all the time, but often enough, and I wasn't having any resource issues whatsoever. And I'm not using, I just have the base amount of spirit of 150. So Soaring Skull, I think that Soaring Skull is the worst of the possible rune choices, because what it does is it reduces the movement speed of all enemies in the line by 60% for 2 seconds. So this is, I guess, more of a defensive rune. Normally, or this skill is a single target skill. So the only enemy that is damaged is the target that you're going after, but all enemies in the line will be impacted by the reduced slow. The reason that I don't think this is overly effective is, again, it's only impacting movement speed. It is not impacting attack speed. So since you're dashing into movement, or into melee range, the fact that their movement speed is reduced, not overly beneficial. It's really just benefiting the enemies that you didn't hit, but were in line. And so, again, I don't think that it's overly beneficial or useful. And so I stay away from this rune choice. I think it's actually the worst out of all of them. So once we have taken out these enemies, then we'll switch it up to the last one. So the last rune choice is actually a really good rune choice. It's a good defensive ability. So Blinding Speed increases your dodge chance by 20% for 3 seconds. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, and as I have on my attributes site, it doesn't actually increase your dodge chance by exactly 20. So right now my dodge chance is almost 39%. So let me just keep this open, and although it'll be difficult to see exactly what's happening, you can see that my dodge chance is now 51%. So it increased it by 13% rather than the 20% that you'd actually expect. And that's based on the math, it's diminishing returns. And so it's 20% of the chance that you had to be hit. Um, and so if you want more information on that, check out my attributes page. But that is the ability. You can see the number of times that it's saying dodged. And so now with 50% dodge chance, of course, 1 out of every 2 hits I'm essentially dodging. So it reduces my damage quite a bit, and I find this to be a very, very effective rune choice. So that's the one that I prefer for mobs, but the stun rune, I'm a huge fan of stuns, and so I think that is the best rune choice for elites and for bosses. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, please leave them below.